On the 22nd of November 1963, at 12:30 p.m, the then sitting President of the United States, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, was assassinated in Dallas, Texas, while he was traveling in his presidential motorcade through Dealey Plaza. So, you may be wondering, how do people in modern times commemorate this tragic and for some traumatic event in recent history? That's right, they made a game about it! Introducing JFK Reloaded, the game that allows you to take the role of everyone's favourite sharpshooter, Lee Harvey Oswald, and experience trick-shotting the president for yourself. JFK Reloaded is a 2004 interactive simulation experience created by Traffic Games, a new studio at the time founded in Stirling, Scotland by Kirk Ewing. Ewing was a former senior games director for Viz Entertainment, who, prior to his departure from the company, had overseen the development of similarly controversial games like 2002's State of Emergency, a game which has gained widespread criticism for its recreation of the 1999 Seattle protests. After his departure, Kirk originally intended to step back from large-scale productions in favour of creating smaller passion projects based around major historical events. He first floated around the idea of creating an adaptation of the 1969 Apollo 11 mission, an event which saw humans walk on the moon for the first time, but he soon scrapped these plans in favour of the JFK incident due to the large quantity of public information centred around the case, and probably due to how technically challenging the former would have been. To help him achieve his vision for the project, Kirk established his very own studio called Traffic Games, and enlisted the help of some of his former colleagues from Viz Entertainment, as well as recruiting other developers from popular IPs like Killzone and, more notably, Grand Theft Auto. His 10-man team immediately set out in producing the game, spending several months conducting in-depth research into every aspect of the topic, followed by a further 6 months of development. And on the 22nd of November 2004, on the 41st anniversary of the president's assassination, JFK Reloaded was released, and all of the team's hard work and dedication led to 45 seconds of gameplay. The game begins at around 12:30 p.m, with you overlooking a complete reconstruction of Elm Street from a window on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository, with the surrounding scenery being fitted with accurately placed buildings, trees, lampposts, and even wind speeds. You assume the role of the assailant, Lee Harvey Oswald, armed with nothing more than a Model 38 rifle and a large bag of ammo. After around 5 seconds of surveying, the presidential motorcade will emerge from behind the Dallas County Criminal Courts building, at which point you're free to take aim and open fire. Now, you're given no directives or hints as to how you should approach these shots. The closest that you'll get is a page on the JFK Reloaded website that provides links to official reports and asks you to conduct your own research into the topic, meaning you're completely free to administer the upcoming carnage however you want. You can attempt to recreate the exact timing and angles Oswald used, create your own scenarios by hitting anything and anyone inside of the motorcade, or, if you really want to, use the game's ricochet system to attempt to hit a few trick shots. There are also several different mechanics you can play around with to get the simulation to run however you desire. There's the basic toggles, like the crowd density and gore effects, radio controls that allow you to hear actual news reports of Kennedy's death, including one from inside of the Situation Room, and motorcade behaviour options that range from realistic, imitating the exact actions the drivers and surrounding officers used, to exaggerated, to straight up chaotic. Following each attempt, the player is given access to an instant replay feature that allows you to re-watch and examine your shots from basically every angle, ranging from a bullet cam to a view from inside the limo. You're also given the option to watch the footage in frame-by-frame slow motion, sped up, and in reverse. The next screen the player is presented with is a ballistics report that shows the exact path and angles each bullet took, as well as telling you exactly where they hit. And finally, you're given a scorecard that gives you a rating ranging from 1000 all the way down to the negatives, based on how accurate or inaccurate the performance you presented was. And that's it. That's everything the game has to offer. Did I mention this game costs $10? But truth be told, you're getting exactly what you paid for, an accurate, and at the time first and only reconstruction of the historical event in the video game format. The game was never supposed to be overly dramatic nor long. It was solely made to disprove all of the wild conspiracy theories that were growing in popularity and definitively prove that Oswald could have and did assassinate Kennedy. And to help prove the shots were indeed possible, and totally not for the company's own publicity, they decided to launch a $100,000 competition for anyone who could accurately recreate them. Easy, right? To get the perfect score of 1000 in JFK Reloaded, there's quite an array of very specific checkmarks you need to tick, all of which are based around the Warren Commission's report. For starters, and most obviously, you must do the entire thing in only 3 shots. The first shot has to be fired at roughly 28 seconds into the level, ricocheting off the ground and completely missing the limousines and other surrounding vehicles. The second, which should be shot just moments after the first, has to hit Kennedy directly in the neck and the governor of Texas, John Connally, who was sitting directly in front of Kennedy, in the upper back. And finally, the third shot has to come at roughly 35 seconds into the run, straight after the governor falls limp into his wife's lap, hitting Kennedy directly in the right side of his forehead, killing him. Fun, right? Doing all of that will net you a grand score of 700. See, those are just the main points you have to hit. There's also a bunch of smaller details you also have to recreate, some notable ones being the governor also sustaining critical damage to the right side of his chest, his right wrist, as well as his left thigh, as well as the third bullet becoming lodged in the dash of the vehicle. Oh, and to make the scoring even more difficult, any alterations to the timing, bullet trajectory, or extra damage caused by the bullets will cause you to lose points. The competition was open from the day of the game's release and closed just under 3 months later on the 21st of February 2005, which during the time, thousands, if not tens of thousands of people submitted their scores to the leaderboards. And nobody, not a single person, even till this day, achieved a perfect score. Ironically enough, a game that was allegedly made to disprove the conspiracy theories ended up helping cement them in a lot of people's minds. The closest anyone managed to get was a 16-year-old from France that went by the username Major Koenig, who submitted the top score of 782 just 1 day before the competition closed, winning him the challenge and earning him the prize of just $10,712, $89,288 short of the grand total. Now, admittedly, the competition itself was a bit unfair. It didn't quite work how you would probably expect, with contestants submitting their best scores to the official website or uploading them to different corners of the internet. But instead, the challenge ran more like an arcade machine. Each person, upon purchase of the game, was rewarded with just 10 competition tokens, though more tokens could be purchased from within the game or earned by referring a friend. To use one of these tokens, you would hit an enter competition button from within the game, at which point you would be loaded into the level, and the score you achieved during that run would be submitted to the website, without a doubt drastically lowering the potential highest score that could have been achieved. Though that doesn't really explain why no one's ever been able to recreate the shot in free play. As you may have expected, JFK Reloaded was heavily criticised upon its release, though it was also commended for its exceptionally good bullet physics, with most of the complaints boiling down to the game's violent imagery and distasteful nature, with several high-profile public figures condemning the game, including Senator Joe Lieberman, who called the game sickening, the 69th Governor of Ohio, John Kasich, who referenced the game in his book, saying, "Despicable doesn't even begin to describe some of these things," and most notably, Ted Kennedy, the younger brother of JFK, simply calling the game despicable. Members of the public also didn't take too kindly to the game, with Kirk being blasted in the news, on the radio, as well as on national TV. He received copious amounts of negative attention due to the game, accumulating countless amounts of online abuse and death threats, with his favourite snippet of the harassment being an email he received that simply read, "You gay Swedish asshole." The harassment even spilled into real life, with members of the press allegedly going as far as to show up to his parents' house in an attempt to get their reactions as to what their son had done. But none of this really seemed to sway Ewing's historical ambitions, as he planned to later on down the line adapt the death of Princess Diana into a game, Actual Menace. Though, as far as I can see, nothing else was ever made, leaving JFK Reloaded as the only segment in his historical series.